What are your forecasts on the potential number of gamers in blockchain gaming over the next 5 years?
We truly believe that we have a global audience available to us.
All right. Well, Michael, it's quite a pleasure to be able to converse with you again. I would like to commend you for the amazing job you've been doing with Star Atlas and Automata, and the support that you've gotten from the community, from the guilds, and honestly from the entire gaming space has just been tremendous. Um, a great majority of the Web3 and gaming space don't understand the levels of stressors that we face as leaders, builders, and pioneers. But this is a moment that the audience and the world has been waiting for, as I believe this is the first ever CEO to CEO interview where we get to give the world questions, Q&A from both of us. So
Sure.
without further ado, let's get down to it.
Yeah, great introduction. Very well said, my man. And yeah, great to be here. Looking forward to the conversation, and also just a big kudos to you guys and what you're doing at Final Frontier. Incredible work in content production and community cultivation and growing your team and helping to educate the wider audience that's looking to participate in Star Atlas. Sincerely appreciate the support that you've shown us through time. And I know you were one of the first guilds to participate in the Star Atlas ecosystem. So sincerely appreciate that. And again, very happy to be here.
Outstanding. So I have some pretty interesting questions for you. I don't know what you'll ask me, but I think it'll be very interesting. But
Okay.
the first one I have for you is everyone always wants to know the numerical direction of Atlas and Polis, which can be overbearing at times, especially that's not something us leaders really want to, kind of deep dive into, especially during, the economic crisis we're having around the world right now. However, what are your forecasts on the potential number of gamers in blockchain gaming over the next 5 years?
No, I think so. I think that's a fantastic question. And maybe just briefly to touch on the other subject matter is certainly not something that I speculate on whatsoever. I mean, what's very important to us as a company is that we're creating utility in the assets across the entire Star Atlas ecosystem, and however the world perceives that, and whatever kind of volatility exists as a result of that, that's not something that we even look at. I actually just mentioned this on an interview this morning, but one of the most important things to me is just driving this idea of sustainability, but also store of value for the assets within Star Atlas. It's really, for us, I want to create a paradigm shift and transformation in the way that people perceive digital currencies and really eliminate this idea of an external reference rate. And I'll just I know the question's a little bit redirected, so I'll get to that in just a second. But if I were to use an example, when we perform labor in a traditional economy, so our day-to-day work in what we do, we get paid in national fiat currency. So if you're in the US, obviously that's USD. At no point do you consider converting that to the Canadian dollar or to the euro or to the won. You think about, I'm earning USD and I can spend USD. And that's the type of dynamic that we want to create through industry within Star Atlas itself, within this metaverse and this universe that we're developing, is that there is a rational basis for retaining and spending your earnings within the game environment. And you're less concerned about external reference rate or exchange rates, and you're more concerned about what can you do with that dollar of earnings or unit of earnings inside Star Atlas. So, but more direct to your actual question, I think that the demographic here, and the audience, the potential audience for something like Star Atlas is enormous. I've gone on records to state previously that we truly believe that we have a global audience available to us. And it's not just gamers. I think gamers that's one of the major cohorts. We kind of dissect this or break this down and categorize into at least three groups. And the first of those is really the crypto native, maybe the trader, maybe the market maker, maybe the speculator. There will always be those elements to really any company, but also to a project like ours, particularly in this emerging Web3 space. That's not necessarily where we focus our attention or what we're developing for, but that cohort will exist. Then there's the traditional gamer community, which is probably more appropriate in response to your question. And we know that there's some 3.2 billion gamers around the world. We're talking half of the world's population that participates in gameplay and in some fashion. And the product that we're developing, a AAA quality grand strategy space exploration MMO, is one that should be attractive from its entertainment perspective, from the ability to create escapism. That's really important. So something that's fun and engaging and entertaining will attract an audience to the product simply because it's fun. If we can elicit a dopamine response, then we're doing our job. That's what we want to do, is create that product, extremely high quality product. But there's also a cohort that is possibly gamer, but possibly motivated by alternative incentives as well. And it's the play to earn community. And our research indicates that this is largely arising from emerging markets or developing countries. These are populations of people that have relatively low standard of living, in many cases earning less than, say, $1 per day. And so what we're able to deliver through Star Atlas is a new economic opportunity for these individuals. It can be extremely empowering to them to participate in the play to earn economy, and not to the extent where, not even to the extent where it's grinding, or again, that's not the dynamic that we want to create, and certainly don't want to create an environment where it's exploitive of labor all over the world. And I do want to touch on that in just a second, but where what we're able to do is break down geographic borders and create a global population of people, a digital economy and a digital society for which everyone has an opportunity to participate. And opportunity being the operative word there. When I speak of power to the people, this is what I'm talking about, is creating opportunities for everyone, not creating guarantees for everyone. And I've often also described this as kind of a new America moment, where we all have an opportunity to explore a bold, brave new frontier. This is where people can actually participate and improve their lives. And then, just a quick point on the idea of exploitation is that my belief and my vision for this is that we are creating labor markets that will be incredibly efficient and competitive. It's going to be quite obvious and transparent as to whether or not somebody's being fairly compensated for the time that they're contributing to the ecosystem. Because if you aren't, say, paying them well, or not sharing in potential upside from gaming operations with them in a way that continues to attract them, someone else will. There is no restriction to being able to employ somebody digitally. Whereas right now, where we see exploitation, especially in these countries, is because they're landlocked. They are completely restricted from accessing outside opportunities. But now the opportunity set just widens. So across all of those, again, I really see a huge opportunity here to deliver something that is incredibly transformative to the global population.
No, that's amazing. I'm honestly blown away by that, response, because you just touched on so many amazing points that I think we don't hear a lot of, and we don't see leaders going after those sectors of trying to expand, trying to build, trying to develop, but also trying to look out for the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're now able to reach parts of the world that just 10 years ago we couldn't. We're able to communicate and game in ways that 5 years ago we couldn't, right? You and I, when we were kids, then Oculus, this being able to game without the cords, this wasn't a thing,
Right.
right? Our version of multiplayer was sitting right next to each other, and it was two-player, right?
Yep.
So, and now you can hop online and play with 50 people, 100
Hmm.
people. And it's amazing to see how far we've come. I tell people quite often uh, that what I see out of Star Atlas is that what you guys are building is going to redefine what we thought we've known about socioeconomics,
Hmm.
gaming, communication, and way of life, right? You're wrapping everything from the physical and the digital and the social world all in one. And then the euphoric part of it is you get to do what you love, gaming. So that is something that I always try to listen in when you're speaking at your different interviews, different events. Is I'm not just listening in, as a fan, or as one of the gamers, or as an investor. I'm listening in as a peer, right? Myself being a CEO, because that like-mindedness is definitely what caught my eye in the beginning, right? You definitely um, you don't just speak, you back up with what you say, and that's a rare thing in this space. um, Very rare. We're seeing that on the news every single day, right?
Yeah.
So I'll ask you another question, and then we can kind of go back and forth, see if you have anything for me. This is a good one here. So being a man can be stressful at times. So have you embarked on any new hobbies?
You're right. It can be very stressful. And I just wanted to comment on, again, I think your summary there was both accurate, informing, and inspirational in its own right. I have a lot of great memories of playing GoldenEye on N64 with split screen and screen checking. It's always like, hey, don't look where I'm at, but a lot of great memories there. It's stressful. I think you have to find ways to release that energy in a positive way, and that's what I do attempt to do. I wouldn't I wouldn't say I've identified any new hobbies. It is pretty all-consuming building what we're building, and it requires a significant amount of time, um, and I'm actually happy to do it. Again, referenced this just earlier, but I couldn't see myself doing anything else, and I truly enjoy what I do. So I'm happy to spend as many hours as I do. In fact, find it quite fulfilling to do that. Um, so what I do attempt to do though is find some time for relaxation more than anything else, more than uh, going to do anything active. Now, with that said, I love cycling. I used to rock climb a lot. I haven't been able to get out to a gym or an outdoor location to rock climb, but I find those as great avenues to explore your inner thoughts while also performing something. Rock climbing in particular is great because well, they're kind of uh, diametrically opposed. Cycling, you can just go and you're free to think. It doesn't require nearly as much attention to what you're doing. When you're rock climbing, you are hyper focused on that specific moment. And for me in particular, I do try to think a lot about what future we can build and what that can become. And so I don't spend as much time living in the moment as perhaps I would like to, or perhaps I should. And so rock climbing is a way for me to live in a specific moment, and in particular, it activates that. There's the fight or flight mechanism that we have in your body. Everything inside you is screaming, "Don't fall! Why are you climbing up this thing? This is scary," and you just have to overcome that. So I enjoy those things. I enjoy physical activity, but lately I've been just trying to find some time to sit down and relax, and decompress, and maybe do a little meditation and try to separate myself from all of the other noise that's around us. What I have been doing finally is playing some more games. In fact, the team and I, we had a nice little group of 5 of us that were playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive last night, CS:GO last night. And that was fun, and it's really cool actually to be able to connect with the team, off hours. We're fully remote, so we can't go grab a beer with each other, but we can play some games together, and
Right.
just finally started doing that. So those are kind of the hobbies right now, is a little bit of gaming, a little bit of physical exercise, and then just some relaxation time. I'd be happy to hear how you handle this situation for yourself as well, though, because there's a lot, right, to consider in running
Yeah.
something big.
Yeah. I mean, as a father, as a soldier, CEO of the company, and then the day ins to day outs, so much going on. The Front magazine, Meta Power magazine, the
Mhm.
emails, the game. It's hundreds of emails a day, the Discord messages, right? The tweets, the Twitter info that's coming in and out. Then we have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm tied into these things all day long. Having meetings with organizations overseas. So 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., I'm on a call. And
Mhm.
so one of my biggest coping mechanisms when it comes to time, right, which is the first currency of the world, is gaming. And it's a big stress reliever for me. Matter of fact, on this TV right here is where the Xbox gets played, and then I can stream to the computer on the
Yeah.
Twitch. So I'm a big fan of the Mortal Kombat, Call of Duty series. I actually have Bassmasters on there, so I do a little fishing on there as well. If I can't get out to the actual lake,
Yeah.
I enjoy it from the game system, and then of course from the computer. I'm now back into World of Warcraft, and so I was heavily involved in that game, in the late 2000s as a pro player, and that was really time consuming.
Mhm.
But it was rewarding, and that was actually the first version of play to earn, was the professional player.
Mhm.
So when we hear it now in blockchain, and I'm like, this is old, right? The pro players were playing to earn.
Mhm.
So, but now they're back. And so what we're doing for recruitment is bringing in traditional gamers into this space. So aside from gaming, I do a lot of custom weapons building, and so it's also just another coping mechanism for me. It's a big stress reliever for me. So a lot of my weapons that I have, I've custom built right here, and it's very good therapy. So outside of that, I'll be getting back to the track soon to race motorcycles again, and so that's a little bit of alpha for the audience.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'll be able to talk you into joining me on the track someday.
You know what? I love racing. Primarily just go-kart racing because that's pretty accessible. Um, I've done a little bit of dirt bike riding. I can't say I'm proficient, but I find it thrilling. So anything that really pumps the adrenaline does tend to be attractive to me as well. So would love to learn from the expert sometime, and hopefully not injure myself too bad.
Yeah, it's rewarding. I still get a little bit of a thrill from being able to speak to some of my friends that are racing overseas in MotoGP and World Superbike. One of them is Garrett Gerloff. He's out of Texas.
Hmm.
After winning the Moto America series, he got a contract to go overseas with World Superbike for Yamaha. So I think it's called the Snack Pata team. So that's who he's over there riding for now. And it's really interesting to see the development between the different countries and what's allowed in the divisions for those bikes, right? In America, there's only so many modifications you can make to the bike.
Mhm.
But then you have the MotoGP series where that's actually a formula bike. The forks on one of those bikes cost more than some houses,
Yeah.
right? They're titanium. They're about $200,000 a piece.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty wild. I'm definitely out of my depth with anything MotoGP. A big Formula One fan, by the way. But the one race I do know from MotoGP well is the Isle of Man race, and I've watched clips of that, and I think that's MotoGP. I could be wrong. Maybe it's its own standalone thing, but uh, ah,
yeah, it used to be a
unbelievable.
part of the series. They
Okay.
pulled it out because of the amount of fatalities.
Wow. Okay. Well, I just, seeing those guys go around that course, it just looks treacherous. So I'm not surprised. That was always a wild race to see.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, what we'll do is we'll paint the bikes like Fimble air bikes. That's what we'll do.
We would love, I don't know if we're way off track here, but by the way, I think, like the Pierce X4 is something that I feel could be fabricated maybe in the not too distant future to be something that's actually a performance hover bike or vehicle in the real world. I just think that would be super cool. I don't know if, when we'll get to the technology to do that, but something like that could be really cool.
Yeah, that would be. Oh man. So you're building a metaverse, of course, that will challenge everything from social economics, culture, avenues of approach to earning an income, and out of every different aspect, what is your particular passion behind everything that Star Atlas can and will be someday?
Well, I do spend an overwhelming amount of my time. Yeah, maybe not overwhelming. I spend a substantial amount of my time thinking through economic structures and how that intersects and integrates with every component of the product set that we're building, which is quite extensive, by the way. I mean, a lot of people, well, everybody in the community knows about the Unreal Engine product. Everybody knows really largely about what's coming up in the web-based client, being built in Play Canvas with WebGL enabled 3D models, and the territory control model behind that, but and of course people interact with the marketplace, which is really another core product segment. We also do a lot of infrastructure development. This is the development of tools like software development kits or SDKs that are necessary to actually facilitate the delivery of the core product that we're building. And the idea that we're not just building a game inside a game engine, but we're actually trying to leverage the blockchain as the backend as much as possible for gaming logic and building those smart contracts or on-chain programs on Solana. Um, it's all pretty challenging stuff and just requires that in many cases we have to build it because we are the pioneers and we're the ones that are leading the curve here, and it just doesn't exist yet, so we have to build the technology. But with that said, I mean, I spend a good portion of my time working closely with our econ team and also just working across the various economic elements of the company. And we've structured our econ department to consist of experts in game economics, experts in tokenomics, and then thinking about what the future of the metaverse economy looks like, metanomics, if you will. And while all of these things do in fact interact with each other, there's some benefit to having the specialization and thinking through the specific components of each of those. So, but obviously, a big part of what I do as well is I don't want to say the visionary. I want to say thinking a lot about the future and what we can accomplish with what we're building. Um, a lot of credit to every single person on our team for just bringing the talent and expertise that they do. We wouldn't be here without them. And special mention to all of the co-founders. What's great about us is we have highly complementary skill sets. Danny's certainly the visionary on the game. Everything game direction flows through him. Art direction flows through him. Like really, if I could almost say it's analogous to him being the CEO of the gaming product, and I'm, CEO of maybe the bigger metaverse, and how these other products within our pipeline all fit in and fit together. Jacob, obviously with deep technical background and CTO and a lot of experience working with blockchain, and the three of us together had worked. We've worked together for about 6 years, building Web3 products and financial services, with our previous company being dedicated to the legal cannabis industry. And then Pablo, who I was fortunate enough to connect with about maybe 4.5 years ago. Yeah, 4.5 years ago. Deep expertise in launching companies, entrepreneurial, managing operations, but also all things marketing, comms, public relations, business development, growth. And he also has a production operations team. So he's a lot of hats that he wears as well. But, independently, I'd say we wouldn't be successful, but collectively with the four of us, we're actually able to accomplish quite a lot.
No, that's outstanding. That team you have around you, it means a lot, right? Because you have to, there's an old saying that, you are what you eat and you become what you surround yourself with, right? So being surrounded by a strong team of individuals who are not only hard workers, but they reflect the same ethos, right? That they all are in this together, because we see a lot of the builders give up, right? They get just a little bit of FUD, or, things get a little too rough, and these people start giving up. They fall like flies. And your team is just constantly going and going and going. One of the best quotes ever is giving up and pushing forward both hurt. So the decision should be obvious.
Yeah.
Right? They both hurt.
Yeah.
So, and I wish a lot of people would understand that. And so we constantly hear about the challenges game builders face, and everyone wants to shun builders for attempting to build a AAA game, right? But also us as CEOs, I think sometimes the community members don't understand how busy we are, how often we're pinged, or hit up with inquiries, and the amount of weight sometimes that sits on the shoulders that you want to be able to put on somebody else's plate, but it's strapped to you, right? It's strapped to you as the commander. So how do you tackle the adversity?
Well, I have extremely high conviction in what we're building first and foremost. It makes it a lot easier for us just to continue moving forward, because we have so much confidence in everything that we're building. And whether it's I think a lot of the criticism that we receive is around timelines, but as I've said time and time again, we're building best in class products, and we're going to roll things out as we feel it's appropriate to roll them out, and we're going to incorporate multiple elements of strategy in how we deliver that. And look, we'd love to have product available. We'd love to have the full game available yesterday if that was possible, but it's just not possible. We're all embarking on this journey together. So it's important for us to continue reinforcing that message and communicating that to people. And it's, if anything, it's only going to get more intense as we continue to grow and we get more people in a bigger community. A 250,000 person community today sounds large, and it is large for Web3, but when we get to the millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people, well, that's going to be an enormous amount of feedback that's coming into you perpetually and consistently. So in a way, this is a positive learning curve in how to absorb that any negativity that's out there, but also just maintain that same conviction that what we're doing is something that is great, and we will just continue to build and ignore the noise and focus on what's important. So that's my personal approach. But at the same time, we try to be very transparent, very open, very honest about where we're at. We try to be as communicative as possible, and we at the same time, we do accept feedback and criticism. It's a way to improve. So by no means are we perfect on everything that we do on day one, but we'll certainly consume the feedback that we're getting and deliver higher quality products as we continue to move forward.
Yeah, I want to commend you on that, first and foremost, because whether it's in gaming, whether it's in just, cryptocurrency, whether it's, with institution, corporation, it is really rare to see a leader engage the community directly, time and time and time again. Even in great organizations such as Blizzard, right? They're responsible for multiple titles, including, the Mogul World of Warcraft. But how often does the leader engage the community? What, BlizzCon, right? So by you attending Spaces events, by you doing interviews, by you attending the town halls, right? The 426 event, let me tell you, that was mind-blowing.
Awesome.
That, me sitting in Discord for that, even though Discord was trying to disagree with me, it kept disconnecting me like the first few minutes. That was more exciting to me than any con event that I've been to physically. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, man, what if this 426 was a physical event? This would be nuts. And but I commend you for constantly pushing forward, for constantly engaging the community, always willing to answer questions. And I feel that we connect when it comes to, those four currencies of the world. You utilize them, right? Time, knowledge, relationships, and then the money, right? The money is always going to be there, but people have to understand that, when they say money makes the world go round, well, I can show you that time, knowledge, and relationships go a lot further than the dollar does.
Could not agree more.
So that's important for us to understand, and you reflect that. And so me to be preaching this to my community, right, and to our community, and be able to look up to you and say, wow, here is the man himself reflecting all of these currencies of the world to everyone. That's what it takes. We need more of what you're doing with the Star Atlas community, with Web3, with gaming, because that is what's going to put more confidence for traditional gamers to step into this space. That 10 million, that 100 million, that 500 million gamers participating in Star Atlas, right? You've got the juice. You got the juice, brother.
Well, I can't tell you how much that means, man. I sincerely appreciate the kind words there. Yeah, and it's could not agree more. Though we do not focus whatsoever on personal financial well-being or gains from this. We focus on the idea that we can build a visionary solution to a lot of the world's problems, and we can be truly transformative. But the relationships are important to me, and I don't it's maybe it's an interesting position to be in, but my ego is not inflated because we've had success. I still consider myself to be the same person I was on the day that we launched as I am today, and I don't want that to change, and I don't intend to have that to change, and I intend to continue to interact with everybody as part of a unified single community of people that are all collectively building something great. We might be spearheading the development side of things, but the rest of what we're doing wouldn't be possible without everybody else that's involved and contributing in some way. Every one of the guilds, obviously yourselves included, lead to greater success of Star Atlas. It's because of you all that we're able to do what we're able to do. So all of this is incredibly important to me, and I last thing I want to do is let ego get in the way, because that is such an insignificant component of life that we should try to eliminate, not try to reinforce.
Right. And I got one more question, and I love what you said about the ego. So many people get a little bit of success, and then it's like their heads up in cloud nine or up in Pluto somewhere, and you can't talk to them, you can't relate to them. They have this invincible complex or God complex, right? And it stops progression. And that is a trait of a leader that is dangerous,
Mhm.
right? Not just for themselves, but for those around them, and then for the community, because ultimately, um, we are the faces, right? Um, so I really like how you handle adversity. I love how you handle your approach to how you build, and just the little things, like, right, the ego stays at the door, right? you know um and so, um what we're seeing right now, winter is not coming, it's here.
Sure.
This is something I've been telling everyone for a while now. It's almost like Game of Thrones. This winter is coming. And they're like, no, it's not. This is 3.0, and Bitcoin's going to 250,000 this year. I'm like, okay, you keep waiting on that.
Yeah.
So, but can you give the audience uh, a few words of encouragement?
Look, I can. I'll make an attempt here. Uh, it, I think it's pretty well known. I've been around in this industry for quite a long time. Getting started in 2013. And by the way, my start in 2013 was September, October 2013, something like this. So it was in the middle of a bull run, by the way, right? We topped out December of 2013, and then there was the collapse of Mount Gox, and that led to a multiple year bear cycle in Bitcoin. But at the time, uh, I'm a huge, huge advocate for Bitcoin, by the way. None of this is possible without Bitcoin, the advent of blockchain technology, and this idea of decentralization and censorship resistance that arose from that. However, the fundamentals of the cryptocurrency industry were clearly not as strong as they are now. There's so much more innovation going on across crypto, and altcoins. Like, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I'm also not an altcoin maxi. Fundamentally, without Bitcoin, we would not exist. But at the same time, I see alternative digital tokens as being major contributors to the interest and adoption of even Bitcoin. If it wasn't for, I almost hate to say it, but if it wasn't for the ICO cycle, and if it wasn't for DeFi, and if it's not now for GameFi or blockchain gaming, these are the things that attract a new audience. These are the things that bring people into this ecosystem. And Bitcoin is a direct beneficiary of that, again, because it is so well established. Um, I preface with that simply because I've been through this a lot of times. And speaking back to the idea of having conviction in what you're doing, if you have confidence, the rest of this is noise. You can weather the storm. You just need to keep putting one foot in front of the other, keep moving forward. And these become great opportunities for builders. It's by the way, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but this is why concentration of wealth is getting larger and larger. It's because when things are down, when things are bad, that is actually the best opportunity to get involved in something that is new. When things are hyped up and when everything's euphoric and everyone is excited, well, that's when the value equation is actually stretched furthest against you as an individual. So building in slow times, building in downtimes, building in a space when everybody thinks it's going to fail and will not succeed is actually the biggest opportunity you can take advantage of. And it's when the best value opportunities exist overall. And so I would just, as words of encouragement, I would strongly emphasize that yes, things feel bad right now, but if you stick with this and if you stay in this space for a couple of years, and I don't necessarily think that that's the bear cycle, but if you just stick with this space for a couple of years and you can experience both the positive times and the negative times, and you contrast those two at the end of it, you reflect internally on what your experience was like during those times. I think you're going to identify that there are opportunities in both periods, and probably larger opportunities in times like right now where it is a little bit slow, but the innovation is not stopping, and this technology is not going away, and this industry of blockchain gaming is the future. So stick with it.
Yeah, that's some great words of encouragement. Um, I special place in my heart for those that just were broken by, whether it was the Luna crash or just, the Bitcoin crash and what it
Mhm.
may have done to certain tokens. We know that some people succumb to permanent decisions because of that.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I wanted to encourage people is every problem has a solution, but it doesn't mean that your solution needs to be the permanent one. You can't come back from that.
Right.
But what you can come back from is reaching out to someone and saying, I need help, or can you talk to me? I'm having problems, right? I'm stressed out, whatever it may be. Um, and so we all need someone to talk to. Nobody is above um, needing a friend or a family member or someone to just talk to them, especially with which is everything going on in the world right now. And it's like you don't know whether if you're going to look left and the cataclysm's coming, or you're going to look right and and winter gets worse, right? So but I mean, to just really wrap this up, um, I haven't forgotten about our World of Warcraft challenge. So we are going to build some arena teams to take you guys on. And I hope Santi and the gang and are getting ready, because arenas get pretty hot and heavy.
Well, a couple of things. One, I have to be honest, I don't remember the World of Warcraft challenge. So that's probably on me. And I also didn't know that I was going up against an ex-professional World of Warcraft player, but happy to lose gracefully on screen at some point. But what I think would be really cool is uh, uh, World of Warcraft was a lot of fun. I did spend quite a few years and many hours in that game, but um, man, I think some competitive arenas inside Star Atlas are going to be a hell of a lot of fun too. So
I would
uh,
love to see that, especially some, actual physical events where, got all the screens going and everyone's just going nuts over, some Star Atlas arenas.
yeah,
I think that is that will be a pillar to um, the heightened gamer for streams, right? Is something like that, because that is what's really important right now in the gaming world. For an influencer standpoint, it is the streams. Matter of fact, a lot of your sponsors or investors, they require the gamers to do it. So you know, so I would love to be able to do that when it's time. I know Final Frontier is going to be fully involved in Scream,
mhm,
as well as every other rollout up until we have full version gameplay.
yeah,
We're going to continue to roll out Star Atlas content in the front magazine. Um, it's getting my team, the hard work they're putting in, especially Karush is the lead editor, is getting better and better with every edition. And then of course there's meta power. So I appreciate the time you spent with me, with us being able to interview each other. I love an informal setting. It gets a little daunting, if you will, or tiring doing the same formal interview, right? It feels good to just be able to kick back, drink some coffee, and just have a relaxed interview, chop it up a little bit. But there's really nothing else to ask on my end or to say, but much love and respect, brother, and power to the people.
and stick it to the man.
There you have it.
No, I love it. Love the setting. It was a great conversation. Look forward to doing it again with you. And again, I do sincerely appreciate all the effort that you guys put into things like content creation, recruiting, education, support of information across the community and in Discord. It means a lot. We couldn't be doing what we're doing without everyone else in the community participating in this way. It's bi-directional, right? It requires both of us, energy from all sides, to actually create something that can be as big as what is laid out here. So sincerely appreciate it. it was a great discussion and look forward to doing it again.
Hey, thanks, brother. Thank you.
Cheers.